All right, well, it is 9:30. I think we can get started. Welcome to the 2024 meeting for the Mobility Coordinating Committee. I apologize that I'm not able to be there live and in person with you all. That is my favorite part, but I had other competing meetings, so I had to be actually away and doing this virtually. But good morning, welcome everybody. This is going to be our call to order. It is 9:30. Jared has informed me that he believes that we have a quorum, so our quorum is established. And then we'll just start with some introductions. My name is Diana Rumsey. For those of you who don't know me, I am the current chair of the Mobility Coordinating Committee. And I will then pass it over to the folks in the room and let you all kind of start us off.
Laura Cruz, Mobility Coordinator for PPACG. Good morning, guys.
Aaron Somero, Transportation Manager from Silver Key Services.
Mary Wagner, Cripple Creek Transit.
Melissa Martz with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
Yep, you're on. Okay. Valerie Anders with Silver Key Senior Services.
Fantastic. And then is that everyone in the room?
Everyone except for Jared.
Okay. Well, Jared is amazing in every single way. So thank you, Jared, for all that you do and keeping us running smoothly. All right, then we will move on to the folks in the virtual space. We will start off with Chelsea.
Hey, everybody. Chelsea Gondek. I'm the Director of Planning and Mobility for the Downtown Partnership.
And Diana?
Diana Van Auken, Teller Senior Coalition. Good morning.
Good morning. Emily? Oh, perhaps Emily has stepped away from her microphone. Kristen?
Hi, everyone. I'm Kristen with Goodwill of Colorado.
Mark?
Oh, yes, this is Mark Bowers. I'm with Fountain Valley Senior Center. I'm the director here. Good morning and Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year. Paul?
Good morning. This is Paul Spots with Independent Center.
Wonderful. Ronnie?
Good morning, Ronnie Gordon, Teller Senior Coalition Transportation.
Sagan? Oh, okay. All right. Well, Sagan will respond to us via the chat. She's having some technical difficulties with her microphone, as sometimes happens to us all. All right. And then I just wanted to circle back really quickly. Is Emily closer to her mic? Potentially not. It's okay. All right. Totally fine.
Emily's with Fountain Municipal Transit.
Wonderful. All right. So moving on to the next item would be our agenda approval for today. So you all have kind of taken a look at the agenda for today as it is proposed. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as it currently sits?
So moved.
And do I have a second?
Kristen Amundsen, second.
Wonderful. So I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as it currently sits. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Seeing nor hearing none opposition, the agenda will move forward as it is currently written and it is approved. Okay. So next item is the consent items, which is the approval of the agenda for December. December was a fantastic event. We got to appreciate all of our drivers, which was amazing, and have some really delicious food. Thank you so much, Laura Cruz. And so I just wanted to move. Well, I'm not going to move, but ask that somebody put a motion to approve the minutes from the December meeting.
Kristen Amundsen, motion to approve.
And do I have a second to approve those minutes?
Diana Van Auken, I second that.
Thank you so much. All right, so I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the December meeting as they currently sit. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the meeting minutes from December? Okay, hearing nor seeing no opposition to the approval of the meeting minutes for the December meeting, we will go ahead and move those forward as approved. Okay, moving right along. So public comment and presentations. I don't believe we have any, but please correct me if I'm wrong.
So, Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and speak up. This is Jared Vernon with PPACG. We do not have anyone in the public area of the meeting in the room. I will ask that anyone who is online who is not a member already and would like to make public comment to please use the raise hand function in Microsoft Teams. While we are giving time for people to find that function if they'd like to make public comment, I will also let you know that we did not receive any advance requests for public comment, and we did not receive any written public comment that we would have distributed to the members of the Mobility Coordinating Committee. As I've gone through all of that, I do not see any hands raised in the Microsoft Teams area, and no one has magically appeared in the room to provide public comments. I believe you are welcome to proceed at your discretion.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so moving right along to the next order of business, which is voting 2024 officers. So I will pass this over to Laura Cruz to kind of take us through that conversation.
I'll take it, I guess, Melissa. All right, if I get it wrong, we'll go forward. So we have 3 positions that we're trying to fill within the Mobility Coordinating Committee. Deanna has offered to stay on as chair for this next year, but ultimately we need to vote on officers. We haven't received any, other than one individual who is not here today, any interest in the co-chair or second vice chair committee chairs. And so we need some folks to step up to the plate to help us out this year with just the executive committee. One of the, just kind of to talk through sort of what you're potentially signing up for if you choose to nominate yourself or somebody nominates you, is essentially we meet once a month to talk about the upcoming agenda items, different things that we want to tackle within this group. Also, as a vice chair, you are helping out with membership and recruiting new members to the MCC committee. And so looking for folks to help fill those positions. And currently, since we don't have anybody that has said, yes, I'll take this on in terms of the second chair and second vice chair or co-chair, well, you know what I'm trying to say, then we can push the voting until next month. But I just want to throw it out there to see if anybody who is on the call today is interested in either of those positions.
So Laura, Aaron Samaro Silverkey, I'll volunteer for second chair.
Awesome. All right. Do we have anybody interested in the second vice chair? Okay. I think a way that we can tackle this today is, since we do have a nomination for chair and a nomination for second vice chair. That's what I get it. confused in my head, for vice chair, then I think we can go ahead and vote on those two positions. And then next time we will see if there is anybody interested ahead of time in the second vice chair position. So asking for a motion for those two appointments. So for the chair and the vice chair. Yes.
Kristen Amundsen, can't even say my own name. Kristen Amundsen. Motion to approve both of those appointments.
And Valerie with Silver Key will second it.
All right, looking for a final vote on those two appointments.
So is
All in
that coming
favor?
from me? Oh, okay. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you guys for stepping up to the plate. We will continue our recruitment. Couple of things that I think we'll be talking about in terms of the executive committee this year is definitely the specialized transit plan and transit plans, and trying to figure out the best way to engage this group throughout that planning process. So I appreciate those that are stepping up into those roles. And we can move along.
I would like to just mention one more thing, Laura, before we go on. I just want to do an extra thank you again for the women who have been involved in the executive committee over the last year. So for Diana and Chelsea, thank you guys for always being there every month after month, and the contributions that you guys have made. And then, of course, Kristen, who still kind of would jump in the background off and on. So thank you. And it'll be great to have Aaron and Silver Key now on the executive committee, and we'll see who the second vice chair steps forward. So just really good to see Diana still a little bit longer on the call. And yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. This has been an amazing opportunity, and I'm very excited. And looking at the upcoming legislative session, there are some really interesting pieces of policy that may potentially come to fruition regarding transportation. So it's a good time to be in the transit space. Getting excited. So, all right. So we've done those pieces. And do we have any membership appointments for today?
We do not. We can move along to 7, and I think in terms of 7, we can just go around the room and get some updates from the providers.
Oh, okay. All right. Do we want to do that in lieu of the information sharing, or just kind of combine them into
We
one?
can kind of combine them.
Okay. That's totally fine. I'm on board for that. All right. So we'll start with the folks in the room.
That would be Silver Key. I'm kicking it to y'all.
All right, Aaron Sombrero, Transportation Manager from Silver Key Senior Services. So last 3 months have been heavy and very busy for me. We've done some amazing things. We continue to transport the elderly community throughout Colorado Springs in conjunction with our partners in Vida and Fountain Valley. Really appreciate their help in getting me up to speed on the different transportation regulations and methods that we're using. One of the biggest things I want to announce is we're changing software, which we hope is going to be a good thing. I think we might have talked about this at the last meeting, but it's coming to fruition very quickly. April 9th is our rollout date. So for Fountain Valley, Invita, and us at Silver Key, we're moving from Route Match to EcoLane, which I think is going to enhance our ability through scheduling. So it's going to take away an actual scheduler having to manually schedule. It's going to do some add an app where the clientele, the customers, can actually just sign up for appointments, reservations, or rides through the app and not actually have to call in and talk to somebody. So there's hope that this is going to create efficiencies within all 3 organizations. I'm very hopeful. We're just getting it really, Invita's taking the lead on most of the planning. We're getting involved, and it's really starting to move forward now. So I think that's the biggest thing we got to talk about from Silver Key. And then, just adding in, Mark, I hope I didn't steal your thunder, but that is where we're heading.
Awesome. Mary?
Mary Wagner from Cripple Creek. We have a couple items going on up there. We have the new ice castle, which we've extended our transportation hours, evenings and weekends. And then coming up in February, the 17th through the 24th, are ice sculptures in Cripple Creek. And on the weekends, we'll be running extra buses down from the Heritage Center on top of the hill there going into Cripple Creek down to the Aspen Mine. And every year we move about 200 people each day specific just for that presentation of the ice sculptures. Other than that, we've been moving right along. We've been moving about 2,200 people each month around the area. Wednesdays to Woodland Park, where we meet up with the Senior Coalition, and daily we go out to another little village, Victor. Thank you.
All right, Mark, do you want to go ahead?
Well, Aaron, you did steal the thunder, but that's okay, not a problem. So everything is going well here, with the exception of our HVAC system that was a victim of the recent Arctic cold snap, and so our seniors are now learning that you need to wear 1 or 2 layers when they come to the senior center. So we are in the process of gathering estimates, and will soon be making a huge capital investment in regards to our senior center. So other than that, things are going well, and the only heating unit that wasn't affected was the main office. So I guess I'm living lucky. So anyway, but our new vehicles are running great and are marked, and the seniors love them. So that's what's going on here.
Great, thanks, Mark. Kristen?
Yeah, I don't have too many updates. I know our day program for Possibilities is running a new route that kind of coincides with their community outings. So I don't have the geographic area yet of how far east or anything they're going, but I'm curious myself. So I'll let you guys know. But yeah, it's more of a central route that they're opening up for new clients that need rides. Good Wheels is expanding into Pueblo, and also our home care services are expanding to Pueblo. And then our vehicle maintenance division, some of you guys are our customers, and thank you so much. We have a shop in Old Colorado City, and they're expanding to soon to do more roadside assistance for people. We're kind of launching first with people we work with, and then over time it would be more businesses, and then possibly the general public if we get the liability insurance to cover more individuals. So, more like batteries, just things that any other tow truck company would do. Goodwill would be able to do that for an affordable rate. So thanks.
Good to know. Good to know. Let's go to Diana or Ronnie.
It's Diana with Teller Senior Coalition. We've been extremely busy. We had an all-time record year for transportation in 2023. And so we're expecting an additional growth in 2024. So we're really excited about that. We now have 11 vehicles on the road. I don't know if you're aware, the Daybreak, an adult daycare center in Woodland Park, closed down about a year ago now. And we were finally able to acquire their bus. So CDOT did sign over that bus title over to Teller Senior Coalition. We just got it back yesterday from getting its new wrap. So it's beautiful and it's going to be on the road really soon. And then we have a new Forester that we were able to acquire with grant funding through PPACG. And our new Forester is getting its wrap this week. So we're gonna have our new vehicles out on the road. We're really excited about it.
Awesome. I'm glad that finally came through. All right, let's go to Paul. Do you have any updates from the IC?
They do not.
All right, sounds good. Chelsea.
Hey, everybody. No real pertinent updates. We, at the beginning of the year, are starting to work on all of our data collection for our annual State of Downtown report. And then just been working with MMT, obviously, on some of the changes that have happened in the ZEB route, but nothing really outside of that.
Great. I think I saw Jacob hop on. Jacob, do you want to go?
Sure. Yep. Popped on a few minutes late. Sorry, everybody. So a couple things. Yes, Chelsea, you are not forgotten. We are working on getting that information. We had an issue with one of our reports, so we're trying to get help from our vendor on that to get you what you're looking for. And then, yeah, so for looking back at 2023 from our fixed route and paratransit ridership, no surprise, I guess, it was our highest ridership since the pandemic began. Over on fixed, we fell just short, fixed route, we fell just short of 2.9 million trips, as opposed to 3.2 million trips back in 19. So we were kind of edging close to that recovery. And then over in paratransit, we were at 117,000 boardings versus 154. So paratransit is still a fair bit behind on the fixed route in that respect. May not be all that exciting for you folks here, but it was kind of a big deal for us. We were able to reopen our restrooms at the downtown terminal back on January 9th. For anybody that has followed that, that has been quite an ordeal. They shut down back in April of last year, and through various cleaning and different plumbing issues towards the end, we were able to get that open on January 9th. And then another thing we did over the MLK weekend, it was, as you may recall, it was very, very bitter cold. We were able to transport people, unhoused people to warming shelters throughout the city, and between them where that was needed. And that was a nice thing. We're able to give back to the community. And it looks like we did that for 19 different individuals over the course of those couple of days. So we were able to do that, and yeah, happy to report on that. Aside from that, we're still dealing with our vehicle shortage issues. As many of you know, we have had to put our cutaways, the minibuses, into service for several months now. It's gotten a little bit better on the fixed route, the larger buses, in terms of that, but we're still dealing with issues with the supply chain and getting vehicles fixed in a timely manner. So those paratransit vehicles are out there, and we're working on getting those branded. So specific to the ZEB, Chelsea, right now, fingers crossed, no guarantees. We hope to have our first one this week for the ZEB. And then once again, fingers crossed, we're hoping by mid-February to have our fleet with the ZEBs that are downtown branded with that. And then for the rest of our fleet, because we're looking to do 16 additional buses on top of that, and we can't just take them all to service at once. We have to kind of rotate them in and out, so we're not having to reduce our services as often. And that we're looking over the course of several months to get those all what we're calling those our minis, and those are just the standard Metro Mountain Metro Transit buses that'll be in a purple color. And that's why people are not confused when the bus is coming by. If it's a Metro Mobility bus for paratransit and you're waiting for a fixed route vehicle, you're not thinking this bus just passed me. You'll know it'll be that specific bus. So helping with that branding will help our customers know that wasn't my bus. So we're working to get that done, and hoping to start seeing those roll out between now and the summertime. But it will take several months to get those out into service. So those are my updates.
Thanks, Jacob.
You got it.
Emily, were you able to unmute from Fountain? All right, thanks, Emily. Is there anybody else on the line that I did not hit?
Did Sagan want to give just a quick overview in the chat? Because I know she doesn't have access to camera, but I didn't know if Invita wanted to say anything.
She says, I appreciate Silver Key talking about our new transportation software transition and implementation. We also want to add that Invita's on-demand program funded by PPACG moved into phase 3, January 1. Invita will be attending the upcoming SWATA conference in February in Tulsa. That's good to know. And I will be presenting on the program. Looking forward to that. So.
Excellent. All right. I believe that's everybody.
All right. Do we want to
Mobility
move?
guide.
Yes, yes. We were talking about what does SWATA mean here in the room. So, all right, just kind of some updates on the PPACG side. Mobility guide, I sent out, I think a couple of months ago, just a form for people to fill out to update the information on the services that you provide. I received 10 back. One of the things that I wanted to talk about today is if you did not fill that out, I will resend that out to the group today, that form for you to fill out. Also, if you offer multiple services, so say for instance, you offer NEMT or NEMT and demand response or NEMT and fixed route, different services, then fill out multiple forms for me. If you look on our website at the mobility guide, you'll see how we have it broken out so that people can kind of quickly quickly search for different types of services in there. So there's multiple pages for the same agency depending upon the different services that they provide. So if you guys do not mind getting that back to me by mid-February, I'll put the actual date in the email to you guys. That would be great so that we can start updating that mobility guide and printing it. So we actually don't have a lot of mobility guides left. We still have some Spanish versions, and I think I have like a box in my office. But if you want some, feel free to reach out to me and I can get you the current version. Any questions on that? Great. The next point, and Jacob can jump in if I have misspoken something or we need to add something to it. We are working on the transit and specialized transit plans. We've talked a little bit about this the past few meetings. The kickoff was last fall. We've been working with our consultant team, Nelson Nygaard, on an existing conditions report. So just identifying what's currently going on. And I really appreciate those that were on the call who sent in data to us to include in that report. So I know that that was a little bit of a task to do, but it's going to be super helpful for us to utilize that information moving forward as we start formulating how we operate in the future through this planning process. In terms of engagement with this group in the planning process, several of our consultants, well, mostly Zach, have reached out to individuals within your organizations to engage you guys in either a focus group meeting, or we actually have a advisory committee meeting, advisory committee for the planning process. So you've probably heard from some of our Kearns and West folks. If you haven't heard from someone, somebody in your organization has probably heard from someone. So just don't fret. You guys are definitely going to have a seat at the table for these conversations. Our goal is to have our kind of public engagement piece sort of wrapped up by March, I believe. Is that right, Jacob? I think so.
I'd have to pull the exact schedule to find out when it wraps up, but that does sound right. There were kind of two outreach efforts, and I believe it might have been more maybe into April in terms of when it was completing.
Yeah. So and then we'll, as that public engagement piece is sort of in the middle of it and wrapping up, we'll be looking at specific projects that we want to fund in the future with our 5310 funding, as well as MMT will have specific projects that they will want to fund with their FTA funds. So just stay tuned. We don't have any really action items right now. You guys help fulfill some of those action items in terms of giving us information that we need to move forward. But as we continue throughout this process, I'll make sure that you guys are informed about where we are. Is there any questions about that?
Laura, this is Melissa. I'm curious if you have any idea if so far it's been brought up, the number of Medicaid ride companies that have been launched in our community and how that's affecting paratransit, if that's been discussed in the focus groups yet or not.
Well, we've only had one focus group meeting. That's a good question. We've had one focus group meeting at the Independence Center last week. Thanks to Paul and Connie for hosting us. That was really great. I think we had about 12 people in the room help participate in that meeting. The focus of that meeting ended up being a little bit about specialized transit providers, but more on the paratransit side, just understanding what people like about it, what people feel like we could do better in the future, and even getting some sort of unique ideas from those folks about how we could better serve the community. There hasn't been a lot of talk about NEMT so far. It is something that will be referenced in the plan. NEMT is a whole different bird. I know that it affects the full system, but ultimately, since there's 106 different providers, it's going to be really hard to engage that number of folks and that are not really engaged in anything else, right? In the planning process, but it will be a note in our planning.
And I don't know so much about engaging them in the conversation, but just talking about the impact and kind of a different way of looking at how we, utilize the rides that we have. Like, I guess that's, that whole piece of, these guys are out there providing transit for people who are eligible and on Medicaid, and getting them to their doctor's appointments. And so, is that an opportunity? I mean, I get that we hate to have our older adults trying to figure out, do I call, this ride for this and that ride for this? And that's the whole point of, trying to have the one call, opportunity. But I guess I just, I'm curious how that will get discussed in the plans, that there are these resources for rides to doctor appointments and things that, how can we streamline that more? How can we, take advantage of that to be able to give other rides in other ways? But I also know it's hard for older adults to know what to do.
Well, and I think this is something that we'll tackle definitely in the coordination piece of it. Right now, as I mentioned, we're kind of in that public engagement / identifying existing conditions. But when we kind of flip it to providers, in terms of addressing these needs that we have heard from the community, that we will be talking about that coordination piece and what's the best mechanisms in order for us to coordinate well in the community. Those of you who have been engaged in these planning processes in the past, we've kind of gone to providers first and said, hey, you know, what do you want to do? And we're taking a little bit of a different approach and engaging the public, and then going to the providers and saying, how can we address these needs as a group? And so that will be something that will come up in those conversations so that people are able to access services in a more efficient and effective way, regardless of what kind of services it is. We've also talked a little bit about some of the things that we know are missing in our community. One of the biggest challenges for individuals who are not Medicaid is their options are a lot smaller, right? And so what services do we need to have in place? What are we missing in terms of funding to be able to provide those services? What are some of those gaps, like who is eligible for Medicaid and who isn't eligible for Medicaid in terms of statistics in our area? So those are some things that we would like to look at so that we kind of understand what resources we need moving forward, even programs moving forward to address some of those needs. We've talked a little bit about in these conversations, one of the challenges that we have in our region in particular is folks needing to go to Denver for services, right? And if you're not Medicaid eligible, that's typically a $400 ride for individuals that need to go to medical appointments up in Denver, because they typically have to private pay for that ride. So that's one of the things that we've identified as a need. And there's a couple of different ways to address that need. We just need to figure out the resources and even the coordination at the medical provider level to ensure that people are not being referred to places that they cannot be transported to. So, so we actually in the advisory committee have engaged some of the hospitals, leaders of the hospitals in this town to be a part of the advisory committee, I believe, Jacob. Or be
they are included, yes.
Yes, yeah, that's what I thought. To start having these conversations, because it is a frustrating thing for transit providers, I know, in the room to deal with some of these issues that are basically brought forth by the medical community, right? We had an example of an individual up in Woodland Park that was scheduled dialysis late in the evening, right? When no transportation is available for them to be taken back, right? So why are these medical providers not asking the question of, do you have adequate transportation to this medical appointment? So because we know that we have seniors and individuals with disabilities that don't know how to have that conversation with their medical provider. So a couple of things there that we're trying to unpack that I think we can tackle just through communication. So
I would just add that the other part of the equation is that the state is going to be getting more and more pressure to address our emissions. And so having conversations about how do we take more vehicles off of the road. And I think as transportation providers, we see the necessity to kind of transport multiple people at the same time in a singular vehicle. So there's a lot of other moving parts at the state and federal level to really help us address some of these pieces that may really further these conversations about, you know, all of these additional providers and additional cars on the road, and how can we you know, make a case that what we are doing is truly filling the need, and also addressing some of those other overarching concerns about emissions and road safety and road maintenance and all of those other pieces. So that's the only thing that I would add in addition to that.
I think one of the opportunities, Deanna, around that is elevating the story that currently right now the conversations around are centered around regulations and not centered around how can we fund this. That's the frustrating piece for our jurisdictions, as well as, you know, some of the agencies on this call too that are affected by that. I think that's the sort of the crux. I think Colorado is 48th. Don't completely quote me on that. I think we're 48th out of 50 in terms of funding transit in our state. So it's pretty terrible. So I think that's one of the things that as we go into this legislative session, to keep an eye out for different mandates that may be passed along that may not necessarily be funded or have funding behind it. So yeah, that's one of the things for us to kind of keep an eye out in terms of these conversations that we're having with folks. I think there's some great people at the legislative level that are advocating for transit. We just need to put the money behind it.
Absolutely. And I think that happens when we raise our voices and amplify those messages and give them that tangible boots on the ground kind of data and information about how this really impacts communities and providers' ability to deliver on the services that they absolutely want to do, right? I mean, we are invested in the community and supporting our members in meeting their transportation needs. And so, you know, how can we kind of message that so that they see loud and clearly that, okay, if you're going to ask us to do this, where's the money to make that happen? It doesn't magically just appear.
Yeah.
So I absolutely agree.
Yep. So. All right. That's all for now.
Fantastic. That's a lot. Thank you. Thank you. Items for the next meeting. We were talking about the officer components, and I have a feeling that we'll revisit that. I just want to make sure that I'm understanding the process. Will we hold off on all of the components to bring them to the full PPACG Board of Directors until we have all of the names, or will we do those in kind of little packets and say, these are the two people that we have to move forward, and we'll get back to you on the next one? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that process.
I'm looking at Melissa.
So it'll go in the minutes to the board at the February meeting that Deanna and Aaron are the chair and vice chair. And then it'll go in the minutes in March who the second vice chair becomes. So it'll head up the chain as of now. So it'll be on its way.
All right, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Any other items for the next meeting?
Just want to bring probably to the next meeting couple of other things that we may have learned from the transit plan process, but also many of you guys on the call applied for funding for AAA and 5310 funding. The AAA funding goes through the approval process through the Regional Advisory Committee and through our board. So we can kind of talk through a little bit of kind of the request in terms of transportation and that kind of thing, and give an update on what those committees are looking at. The 5310 funding goes through a different path in terms of approval, and that goes through the Transportation Advisory Committee. That's the federally approved committee for that funding. And so we'll also kind of talk through any kind of updates that we have in terms of what has come out of those committee discussions and what will be the recommendations that will be going to the board. I believe I'm looking at Melissa. I believe our goal is to ensure that we have board approval by May of both of those funding sources for transportation. And that we'll be able to start sending out contracts in June for a funding date of July 1. So I know that we started earlier this year just to make for sure we can get those contracts in place prior to the beginning of the contract period. The other thing that I forgot to talk about, I want to give you guys a heads up that CDOT did put out their super call for, I believe it was operations. I think so. For operations that I believe is due in March. I wish Glenn was on the call here. So just stay tuned to their website. Go on their website today and look at the funding sources that have been dropped and are available. There's also the Office of Innovative Mobility, which is a part of CDOT, has also dropped two notices of funding availability for people to apply for. Those are really around reducing transportation demand management, so reducing vehicle miles traveled by single occupancy vehicles, as well as any kind of sort of multimodal project. So look at those different funding opportunities. I know that there will probably be 2 applications for OIM coming out of our jurisdiction. So, but I did talk to CDOT and they are open to more than 1 application coming out of our jurisdiction. They are kind of a funky grant. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out to me, but also more importantly, reach out to the CDOT team to ask any questions about those funding opportunities.
Excellent. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, so seeing and hearing none, I think that's it. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time this morning. I'm looking forward to being in the room with you all next month. If anything else comes up, feel free to reach out to us. And then I hope you have a lovely rest of your January. Stay warm. It's supposed to get interesting weather-wise in the next couple of days. And Mark, I really hope you get your HVAC situation all sorted out sooner rather than later. All right, this meeting is now adjourned. It is 10:18. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thanks.